A person is only as strong as their word, but every day the world dares you to break it. Integrity with Red Shea is for the ones who refuse to do so. Red spent 12 years in federal prison because he wouldn't break his word. Now he's talking with people who've done the same. From their battles, you'll see how to stand tall when everything around you falls. Because in a world hell-bent on destroying you, your integrity is the only thing that will protect you. This is Integrity with Red Shea.
We have a great guest today. It's an amazing guest, iconic guest, a Hollywood producer. And let me tell you, we go back a long way, a lot of history between the two of us. He is the first guy I met for 5 hours in Boston to say, John, you need to write your book, Rat Bastards, with Mark Wahlberg. You need to do this. You need to tell your story about integrity, because that's who you are. And I want to welcome Ken Koken. Ken, thanks for joining me. We've been friends for so many years now, and the history that we have together is amazing. We've been through a lot together. We really have. It's been a great journey, I'll tell you that.
That's a good
I
point.
wish it was a better journey at the moment, but I think it's been wonderful, to be honest with you. You know me, I like to tease.
We still got life left.
Yeah, we got a lot of life left. We do. But thank you, Ken, for coming on
Thanks
and
for having me.
supporting me and coming on this show. And the people are going to love the stories that you have and we have together. I know they are. So, Ken, can you tell the people about your life and just where you came from?
Basically, I wasn't expecting that question. I grew up in LA. Film was all around me. My dad's a dentist. He's retired now, but I tried to do the dental school thing, but my life was film. And I started making movies when I was 10. And then I didn't do well in chemistry and biology and all the things you needed to do in your undergrad to become a dentist. So film was just my destination. And I went to USC Film School. I met some really talented people in film school, and we made a movie called Public Access pretty shortly after film school, and that won Sundance. And then after that, we made The Usual Suspects, and Chris McQuarrie and Kevin Spacey won Oscars.
I don't want to step in on you because you're going on a roll, and I love it. I want the audience to hear that, but amazing movie, Academy Award winner, and you were a part of that, and that is amazing.
Which is a story unto itself in terms of getting that movie made. It almost didn't happen. Talk about integrity and perseverance. We can interlace integrity and perseverance. We were committed to this script that over 35, 36 producers and companies passed on. And we kept going, bringing it back to your integrity theme.
Sure.
And we knew that we had something. And we had Kevin Spacey attached, and people said, well, get rid of Kevin Spacey and cast Dustin Hoffman, and we're like, one, it's not integral to the story, and two, it's like we committed to Kevin. Chris McQuarrie wrote the part of Verbal Kint for
Sure.
Kevin Spacey, because Kevin one day told him what he wanted in a role, and Chris wrote. He listened to everything he said, and then he wrote The Usual Suspects around that. So that's basically what happened, and then so many people passed on that script, which won Best Picture. And we were coming off a win at Sundance. We won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance, and people were still passing. And we still had a fight, but we were able to put a great cast together, and then our money fell apart. But we had 2 weeks, and there was this guy in London named Robert Jones, and it was during Cannes, and he took our package, which had Gabriel Byrne, Benicio,
Sure, yeah.
Chaz Palminteri,
Yeah, great.
Kevin Pollak.
Great cast.
Yeah, and we were able just to he was able to shop this project around and get Polygram and Spelling at the time to put in the money to make the film. And we had $5.5 million to make it in 35 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and I directed all the second unit, which
Wow.
was intense. But long days, really hard, really doing things fast. For my second film as a producer, directing second unit and producing the movie and dealing with, not having that much money to make the film was really,
Sure.
really challenging. And the deals and then all of a sudden, we have this film and people didn't quite get how to market it.
Oh, that's a big part. That is a huge part. Yeah.
So there were these posters going around New York saying who is Kaiser Soze and all this stuff, and we're like, nobody knows what Kaiser Soze is. Who cares who Kaiser Soze is? It's like ridiculous. Anyway, fighting with the marketing team and working to get, we got the cast in GQ magazine, and we knew we had something. And the interesting thing about the film was women loved it. Women were all about this mob movie. So
Yeah,
it was-
women.
Yeah.
A lot of women like bad boys. At least that's what my wife tells me.
Yeah,
Anyway. She says, I think that's why I married you.
Exactly. So then after that, I did The Way of the Gun. I did another movie in
With Ryan
Jordan.
Phillippe.
Yeah, with Ryan Phillippe, Benicio, James Caan.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Great actor, James Caan. God bless
Scott
his soul.
Wilson. It's scary as going through time, when these actors that you work with, they pass, but they live on in the movie. It's
Yeah,
like,
sure.
And you remember the experience. Like Jimmy was great. I loved working with Jimmy. I'm definitely gonna miss him.
Yeah, icon.
Yeah. And Pete Postlethwaite, who was
Yeah.
Kobayashi.
Unbelievable, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing actors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
well,
Scott
you
Wilson
were
too.
gifted to be able to have an opportunity with them and work with them.
Yeah.
That's for sure.
Crazy thing is, Jimmy is Hollywood history.
Yeah, he is.
And that was just an amazing honor to be able to work with a guy like that every day for the shoot. And even though he would bust my balls a little bit.
Yeah.
Sign
I
of
bust
love.
your balls a little bit.
I know, everybody. That's how I know I'm cool, John.
Exactly.
You're not afraid to bust my balls.
No. I can take it too, though.
I know.
So let's tell the audience and how we met. Yeah, no, I mean, really.
Do you remember the year?
Oh, boy. I'm very bad with dates, but I'm very good remembering.
We're going back decades already.
Yeah, we are. I know, it's been
It
a
was
long time.
2003.
2003.
I was in Boston
It
for
was
my
a year
cousin.
after I got out of prison.
Yep.
After I did 12 years in prison, it was a year after. Yeah,
And where were you living at the time?
And we met at Marina Bay.
No, but where were you living when you got out during that time? Do you remember?
I was living with Fran Hurley.
Exactly.
Yeah, the guy who, Fran Hurley, what a great guy, who helped write the book with Rat Bastards with me. Yeah.
You were living like in his garage, in his house.
Yeah.
You were fresh out.
I was fresh out of prison after 12 years, straight 12 years, yeah.
I had a friend, after that 5-hour meeting, when you told me your whole story from birth to the moment of sitting there, my friend turned to me and he was horrified. He was, I had this friend, he's a screenwriter. He walked away like shaking from your experience. And I'm like, what? No, that was cool. I mean, he's not in prison. He's like, oh my God, the things he must have done. He was horrified. But he was intrigued. He heard every story.
Yeah.
And after hearing every word that you said, and I don't think you left out one moment, although I do still have questions.
Shoot.
I was like, you need to turn this into a book.
You did. You would have wanted to told me and Fran that you need to write the story in the book. And that's when Mark Wahlberg met up with Mark, and you told me if you have the opportunity to do that with Mark Wahlberg, absolutely tell your story, because your story, you said, in your words, I'll let you finish that, if you will. Yeah, I remember you saying to me, your story is so unique.
Yeah.
Unique because everyone who writes a book in this genre of being a mobster and stuff like that, or being a part of the mobster world, or what have you, they're all informants.
Yep.
There's no person that I know of right now that wasn't an informant that wrote the book. So you know what? Why can't a stand-up guy write his story and tell it through his eyes? And that's what you said to me. And I thank you. I thank you immensely for that.
And now you have a show.
I have a New York Times.
All about not ratting.
I have a New York Times bestseller because of you and pushing me that way, and encouraging me. And I also have a new show that we're moving forward with.
So just so people understand, growing up as a film buff and a filmmaker and everything, I always thought mobsters ratted.
Right.
I always thought you were in the mob because every example of a movie always came from a rat. Henry Hill.
Yeah.
What did he do?
He ratted.
Frank Lucas, is that the guy that Denzel played?
Yeah, Denzel played, yep.
I mean, all these movies that were true crime stories were always about a guy who turned.
Yep.
And then I met you. And I'm like, what do you mean you didn't turn?
I know, I'm the stupid guy in the room, if you will.
And I even remember when we were trying. So for those people who don't know, you and I, we wrote the script to the movie.
Yeah, we decided to write a script for the book Rat Bastards at the time.
Yeah.
And who do we meet? And we have a meeting at the time, and he really wanted to do it, but he was getting his new contract with Paramount, and I think today, this week the movie's out, right?
Oh,
with
yeah.
Tom Cruise and Chris McCrory.
Yeah.
We met with Chris and Mark Wahlberg, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, we've had a lot of history together, Ken.
Yes, we did.
We've tried, but it just hasn't clicked yet, but it will.
Did I say we met in 2003? Did I say the number?
Yeah, 2003.
I can't believe well, first of all, I can't believe I'm that old. Second of all, I can't believe I've known you for that long.
Yeah. Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah. We've been through a lot together as friends, and I've always cherished that. I'll be very honest with you. Always cherished that, just because of the person who you are.
Thank you.
The person who you are. You've always been there and always shown strength and given me great advice and stuff like that throughout my time.
Yeah.
I hope I've done the same for you.
Definitely. Knowing you has definitely changed my life. But going back to the Hollywood version of mobs, where they always take the rat story. And I always thought that's what you do. But then when we came to Hollywood with your story, people were trying to get us to think that wasn't important, that the not ratting, they're like, why doesn't he just rat? It makes him look stupid, was the note I got about your character in the movie.
That's why I said I'm the stupid guy in the room. I remembered that.
It makes him look stupid that he just wouldn't rat and walk away. Because you could have walked away free, right?
Yes.
Was the deal on the table where if you snitched, you didn't have to serve a day?
My deal would have been that I wouldn't have to serve a day.
How hard was that decision?
Are you kidding me?
Tell me how hard it was.
Wasn't hard at all.
12 years, John.
No, I was
12 years or rat.
Remember, I was facing 20 to life.
Oh my God, I lost my hat. We don't need to cut that part. We can keep that.
No, keep that up.
Keep that on.
But no, I was facing
drama.
I was facing 20 to life. How hard was that?
Yeah.
It wasn't hard at all. I was born and raised in Southie, never to rat no matter what. And that's how we were raised.
So John, this is part of the questions I have for you. Because that's your moral compass right there, is I'm not going to rat. Yet, you admit to robbing trucks, jewelry stores, selling drugs, everything like that.
Anything when you're a kid growing up in the projects, you're trying to make money, because we didn't have anything and stuff like that. And that's just the way the culture was at that time. you know, and myself, I didn't have a dad at home, and my mother was working like, you know, tough job. My mother worked hard. God bless her soul. My mother worked so hard. She wasn't educated, so she had to work hard.
4 kids.
4 kids. She raised 4 kids by herself.
With one little asshole as
with one little terror Chucky in your hands. Yeah, exactly, Chucky. But that said, you know, I just tried to make the best I could in the environment that I was in. And yeah, we robbed trucks. We you know, we stole. And you know, we try to make money, Ken, as I've told you.
So why is this is what fascinates me kind of about the culture you grew up with, which is so far removed from West LA, Jewish family, had everything I ever needed. God
Shalom.
bless my parents. But what, on a moral scale, you're committing a sin when you do these crimes, yet this one sin you won't do. Why?
Well, the reason is with that, Ken, it's very simple. We're surviving. We're surviving. But at the same time, you do lose some morals as you're doing that. Mm-hmm. But there's an integrity that you can never let loose and never let go. And that integrity is, if you get caught, you accept it. You accept it. That's the bottom line.
You talk about crossing the line. You know, once you enter that life of crime, you accept that you might get caught and you're not going to put your crime on other people. I always thought that was fascinating. Can you share that story about when everybody was arrested and you saw people turning and you went up to the guys who were twice your age?
I'm glad you brought that up, because prior to me really getting into that life, and I was just a young boy, I was a young kid, I said to myself, if I get arrested for anything that I do, would I be able, once I cross that threshold, would I be able to accept the responsibility of not ratting? Can I do that? I asked myself that at a young age, at such a young age. Can I do that? And I guess we know what the answer was.
Where did that come from?
I don't know. I just, you know, growing up in Southie and knowing that you just never gave anybody up.
But can you like share with me like when somebody taught you that life lesson?
It was a neighborhood lesson. It was a neighborhood code, if you will. But I've seen other people do it throughout my life. Yeah, as I was growing up, there were people that I know that committed crimes that were not good, and they accepted full responsibility for it. And I saw that, and I said, I need to be able to do the same thing if that ever happens. Accept the responsibility for the crimes that you do. And there's not many people that do that. You're absolutely right. You're 100% right. And so the few people that did do this, you know, I don't condone the badness, but I condone the integrity and accepting the responsibility for what they've done. And that's huge.
So one of the times when that
So I just want to say, because I want to touch upon what you said earlier about the people around me.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were guys when we got indicted. I was the boss. I was at the head of the indictment. And there was an article that came out, and it said Whitey Bulger, the boss, Irish boss, that was on the run for many years, He was just under Osama bin Laden. Am I correct? Yeah.
No, actually, what happened was he was at the top of the FBI's most wanted list until 9/11, and then Osama took his spot. And then after they killed Osama bin Laden, then Whitey got one again.
That is correct. So that said, Whitey was, they said the article come out after all, 52 of us got indicted, by the way. 52 people.
And how many of them were under your control, just on an aside? How many were like in your division of the mob?
I fed every one of them.
All 51 people worked for you when you were 20 years old?
I supplied every one of them. Wow. I supplied every one of them.
And you were 21, 18?
Well, I started like at 19, you know, my runs from Miami to and stuff like that. 18, I was flying down to Key Largo and strapping cocaine to myself and flying with that. I mean, yeah, I mean, it's
you were
a wild ride.
Like an amazing entrepreneur.
Yeah, I tried to be.
At such a young age. But like having 51 employees, you were the youngest one. You were supplying all of them. They all reported to you. You can't, I knew at the time, because when you got out, you couldn't figure out how to use a computer. So I don't know how you kept track of everybody, because that's a huge, you know, you don't know how to use Excel sheets. Like,
exactly.
How did you, and you're dyslexic like I am, how the hell did you keep track of all this?
My mind.
Your mind could keep track of
mind.
who owed you how much and everything.
Yes.
51 people.
Yes.
Where you're buying it, how much you're spending for it, all the accounting.
Not all the 51 owe me.
Right.
The guys, there were other people who were under them, so my suppliers would supply them, and then it just carried on. It just, you know, went on. But there were certain suppliers that were in that chain that I would deal with, and they'd report to me, and they'd have to pay me.
I mean,
so yes, I knew what the numbers were immensely. It was a lot of money that each one of them were, you know, owing or bringing in and stuff like that. Yeah.
Did you write it down?
Absolutely not. Didn't need to write it down. It was all right here in the computer.
So like you knew, like, so what kind of, do you know what your profits were, or your gross, like every month, like how much you were doing, or?
It depended on the month. It fluctuated. But I remember when I got recruited by the head guy that at the time, and his name was Shea too, Billy Shea, and he testified against Whitey at his trial, and he talked about myself and how they recruited me on the stand in federal trial. And he said, yeah, Red Shea, we recruited him. He was a maverick. These were his words, not my words, in trial. He was a maverick, and he had the best stuff in town. Not that I'm proud of that by any means, but I am proud of accepting my full responsibility for all the wrongs I've done.
Yeah,
and I paid that to society.
And you wouldn't, let's just say this, because you wouldn't even have an integrity show if you didn't serve your 12 years.
That is correct.
You know, and you, but I'm still, look, I mean, I'm in awe of you in being able to do what you did. You know, I don't support it, but, you know, just the fact that you at such a young age were able to do that. Then I thought about myself, and I was like, I won Sundance when I was around the same age, and then produced The Usual Suspects.
And there you go.
At the same time, I mean, when we were in our 20s, at the same time, you didn't go to film school or accounting school or anything. You barely passed. Did you graduate from high school?
GED.
You got a GED.
I got a GED.
Were you good at math?
I was. I was good at math. Yeah, I was good at math.
Because just the tracking the operation and knowing your suppliers and knowing your costs and knowing how to, like, and you're basically a chemist too.
Yeah. I was the guy who broke it all up and made sure that everything went out to to the customers, if you will.
And then you had, were they not safe houses? What were they called where you would divide it?
Yeah, they were pretty much safe houses. And I would make sure that they were furnished, and apartments that they were furnished like a home that somebody lived in. And that if anybody had actually went into there, they would see a home where somebody was living.
And then you're part lawyer too, because you knew all the laws.
Well, I don't know about all the laws, but I had a little bit of knowledge of that, yes. And that was only due because of knowing what the laws were, because of people who got in trouble that I knew and stuff like that. I learned that very quickly, especially when I got indicted. I learned that so quickly. Oh, yeah. I learned that real quickly. I indulge in that right away, of course. Your life is on the line. You gotta do that.
Instant law school.
Instant law school, exactly.
So they were following you. I mean, that part of the movie is really awesome in terms of the script. God willing, one day we get to make this movie. But refresh my memory, like they were trailing you for a couple days. Remember the cops were trailing you, and you knew they were onto you.
That is correct.
And then you could have run, right?
Yes.
You had an opportunity to run a few times.
Yes.
The taxi cab scene.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's after I got indicted and got sentenced, and they said, hey, you have a choice. We can take you and put you on a bus, a plane, whatever, and send you through the system now to get to your destination.
What do you mean, to the prison?
Yeah.
Okay.
And that destination was Milan, Michigan, in Detroit. Or you can fly on your own and self-surrender. I went, self-surrender? Are you kidding me? I'm like, I'm facing 12 straight years right now. Listen, my attorney and good friend and confidant, Tony Cardinelli, represented John, he was in the John Gotti case, Fat Tony Salerno, and so many other guys throughout the mob world, if you will.
He needs to write a book too.
Yeah, but you know what he said to me at the time? He said, you have an obligation. I said, I do. He said, and you have to fulfill that obligation. In other words, make sure you show up to that prison and do your time, because people are counting on you. People are counting on you to do that, because once you do this investigation is over with. They have to start a new investigation. You're closing the door. You are the one to close the door, he said.
Meaning?
Meaning that this is solved.
What? All the 51 people, the whole case.
That is it. I was the last to plead guilty. I was the guy to close the door after everybody else did what they did, or pled guilty or ratted or whatever. I was the last to plead, and I was the last to close that door.
I mean, now you're making me think about all these great scenes in the script that we wrote, because there's that great scene when you're being interrogated.
Oh.
And it went on for how long? Hours.
It went on for a while, and they sat me down, and they said, we want to know everything. We want to know about Whitey. We want to know about every one of them. You have a chance, and you're facing a lot of time, many years in prison, and you can help yourself now. Now, this is prior to my attorney even, getting to them and saying, hey, you don't interrogate him. He ain't speaking to you. And if you need to speak to him, you speak with me. So I went in there, I sat at the table, and they brought up a name. They brought up a guy named DeJesus. And that was like one of my suppliers in Miami. And they said, hey, real coy, do you know what the Jesus? And I said to myself, in the back of my mind, I'm going, these son of a guns, these son of a bitches, no. So I played it off, real cool, calm, and collective. I said, I do know what the Jesus. And they got all excited. I said, yeah, I know you do? Tell us about the Jesus. I said, well, the Jesus Esteban was the only guy to beat Roberto Duran as a lightweight, I said. They didn't like that. They didn't like that at all.
Well, they weren't boxing fans?
Yeah, no, they weren't boxing fans. They didn't like that at all. The interrogation, of course, and trying to break me, and being the youngest guy and never being to prison ever, or arrested ever. And, here's a young guy that came from nothing, that had nothing, that had all this money and luxury around him now. Rolexes, plenty of money and stuff like that. Yeah, a boat, eating fine dining and traveling and just living luxuriously, if you will. And they figured he's the weak link. We got the weak link here. He's going to break. There's no doubt about it. We put this pressure on. We got Whitey Bulger. We got Stevie Flemmi. They're all going down. Every one of them with this guy. We got it all because he's the weak link.
So they're like figuring they have like Opie from Mayberry in the chair.
Yeah.
With a little bit more muscles.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, he's going to rat or he's going to snitch. He's going to give us what we want because he's not going to prison, right? And then it's a great line in the movie. Hopefully the movie gets made, but I don't mind if you ruin the film for people.
So that said, after all the interrogations going on, they realize that this isn't going anywhere. He keeps stalling us. He's a wise guy. He's joking.
And they say, you're going to do 20 years.
So now, here comes the tough guy. Oh, God, please. You know how that goes with me when the guy wants to be a tough guy. Oh, please. All right. Okay. Yeah, all right. I grew up at the age of 5. I got beat up in the gutter. That's what, by 2 kids that were 10 years older than I, brought to the gym by my sister, learned how to box and fought in the streets, growing up at Southie. Here comes the tough guy now. Okay, you got a job to do. Go ahead, do it. Let's see how well you can do it. You're gonna go. You're facing at least 40 years. You're gonna go down 40 years to life. You go 40 years, 40 years. I stand up as I was cuffed, and I said, and I looked him right in his eyes. It doesn't get any worse than life, does it? In other words, I was willing and going to give my life.
I mean, it's a good reason to call your show Integrity.
Exactly. I'm not saying what I have done in life is proper. But you know what? I never gave anybody up. Ever. Ever. Ken?
Yeah.
There's a line I like to say, and I've said this in the book.
Yeah.
I wouldn't rat on a Martian.
It's fascinating, especially like learning. And I'd say this, I have learned about integrity from you. And I have changed my perspective on things from working with you and doing everything and seeing the world through your eyes, because it's completely different than how I grew up. And I mean, but that test of your integrity happened so many times. There was, the great moment where you had a girlfriend at the time or fiance at the time.
Yes.
And we were in pre-production. We had great actors coming in.
I can't tell you, there wasn't, all I can remember.
Well, tell the scene what happened.
All I can remember, the most prevalent thing that I remembered from that scene.
Yeah. But it was a scene taken from your real life.
Yes. The most prevalent thing I remember from that scene, that was at the Beverly Wilshire.
Okay, you're talking about the scene, not what happened in real life. But
I'm
they're the same, right?
Exactly. But the Beverly Wilshire, we had those people in.
Yeah.
Right?
So
they did that scene.
Wait. Just let's talk about it. So we had this financier who ended up in prison, but he had a lot of cash, and he flew in Tom Gary, who we wanted to play you in the movie. And he flew him in on a private jet, and he flew you in on a private jet.
We were all flown in, yep.
He took us to he put you and Tom up at the Beverly Wilshire. He had the suite. You guys even had separate rooms, even though this place was a mansion on top of it was the Pretty Woman suite.
That is correct.
At the Beverly Wilshire. And we had casting there, and we had a great casting director.
Valerie McCaffrey.
Yeah, Valerie McCaffrey.
Yeah.
And we had the camera there, and we had an incredible cast of characters all coming up to the hotel room, the Pretty Woman suite, to do their auditions. It was surreal. And these two came in. Agnes Bruckner, I remember.
Agnes was... Her and Tom hit it off unbelievable. Well, they knew each other from the acting world.
And they're performing the scene when you're saying goodbye to your girlfriend for the last time and going to prison the next day. I mean, I see this movie in my head. It's so frustrating that we couldn't get it made, or yet.
So I remember them doing the scene in front of everybody and the financier and his wife.
Yeah.
And I stopped them. And I said, Tom, let's go into the side. And we went in the side room, and I said to Tom, this is how it was done. This is what I told you. He came back in, sat down, and did that scene with Agnes. Oh my God. There wasn't a dry eye in the room. We had to give out Kleenexes. We had to give those Kleenexes out. Even Agnes, the tears were coming out of her eyes, who was playing my fiance.
It was one of the most amazing auditions I've ever seen in my career.
It was amazing.
That scene of Tom playing you, with you in the room saying goodbye to your girlfriend for your 12 years.
Oh my God, it was like heart-wrenching.
Oh, so here's the question I have for you that I've always wanted to ask you, and I think I asked you in 2003 when I first met you. Don't you get off on good behavior? Doesn't your time get cut down?
Yeah, you do. You get good behavior in prison. And
how long was your sentence?
12 years.
And how much did you get for good behavior?
0.
So tell me what happened.
So I lost my good time, almost every single ounce of good time, because of altercations that I've had in prison throughout my time.
So how does that work? I don't understand. I've never been to prison.
They offer you, I believe it's 54 days a year. Mm-hmm. As long as you haven't been in trouble, so if you did a year, you get 54 days off.
For every year that you do, you get 54 days off your sentence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I lost every one of those 54 days a year.
Because but you're a guy of integrity. So how does that happen?
Exactly. You just hit the nail on the head. When somebody disrespected me, I handled my business.
Now you're 5'8", 5'9"?
Yeah. 5'8.5", 5'9", yeah.
I assume if we're looking at all the prisoners, you were not the biggest guy in the room.
No. Absolutely not. But I wasn't the smallest guy either, Ken.
I still don't understand how you didn't even get 1 year to get time off. And was it because somebody crossed you and then you stood up for your integrity?
I don't know,
how does that happen?
I don't know. Maybe because it was always the time of year, and most of the time that those altercations happened were like around the holidays. So maybe because I was not happy and I was a little disgruntled at the time, if you will, being where I was. So I was easily pissed off.
Do you remember? Do you remember any of them?
I do.
So what happened, and how did you defend your integrity in those situations?
Well, there was one kid, and he was new to prison, and we had this movie area, TV area for watching movies.
Yeah.
And they issued you your own folding chair, and it had your number on it, if you will. So I had put my chair down to watch a movie. And I stepped out of the movie room for a minute. I came back, and my chair was being taken by this young guy, younger than me. And I said, wow, I made a joke of it. I said, wow, you were real quick and fast. I just put that down. I said, that's my chair.
Uh-huh.
And he said, I don't give a fuck. I said, oh, you don't? Interesting. Well, I do. I wear glasses for watching TV for distance, and I had a pair on. And I took those glasses off and slid them into my pocket nicely and slowly. And he asked me what I wanted to do about it for taking my chair. I took those glasses off and hit him with a left hook. I took him off his feet. And I'm going to tell you, he had a good chin. He had a very, very good chin, because usually when I hit somebody with a left hook like that, they're not, and they go across into the ear, if you will, they're not getting back up. Well, this son of a gun got back up.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, he got back up. And I said, let's go, let's go, let's go. And so he came at me, and I just took him apart. I just took him apart like he was a heavy bag, like I was hitting the heavy bag. I mean, leaning over to my left, leaning over to my right, hitting him with uppercuts. And the funny thing about it is, a guard came by and he saw it all. And it was a good-sized guard. He was a big young kid. And they have their alarms on them with their radios, and they call them deuces. And he hit his deuces, the alarm. And all I could hear as I'm banging this kid up and fighting this kid, I mean, I'm banging him up. All I hear is, hurry up, get down here. Inmate Shea is killing a guy. He's killing him. Before you know it, there was a bunch of guards. They came in. They brought me down. They tackled me, brought me down. And I remember the lieutenant, Nesbitt. And he said, is this gang-related? Because there was just a problem with a gang-related thing, too. I looked at it, I said, really? I said, let me tell you something. I'm accepting full responsibility here. I said, the guy took my chair, he disrespected me, and I gave him a beating. That's it. That's simple. I take full responsibility. Whether I lose good time or not, I don't care. I don't care. You will not disrespect me. You will show me respect. I give respect. I want you to give the same to me. And if you can't, then you need to keep moving. And if you can't move and you don't like that, that's just the way it goes. Then we'll handle it. We'll handle it. I don't care how big you are. I don't care how small you are. I will handle it.
And you knew going into that you were going to lose 54 days.
Yes. But I'm going to tell you something, and this is a fear I had, a real fear I had when I was in prison. The fear was that I might not make it out. I might not make it out. And I'll tell you why. because it's not so much that I might be killed. It's more that I knew who I was, that I might not make it out because I might end up killing someone. And I didn't want that to happen. And I tried my hardest and tried to navigate through that system, and that prison system, to not do that. I tried every capability, whether I fought and this and that and everything. I was hoping that I didn't kill anybody.
So, I've never had that I hope I don't kill anybody kind of thing ever go through my mind. Why did that go through your mind, and how did you deal with that?
Well, it went through my mind because, you know, you're in prison, you're in a rough environment, and you get challenged.
So every day you're like, I hope I don't kill anybody.
Well, pretty much, yeah. Yep.
I don't even know what to do with that. That is like, I've never had, and I'm pretty sure very few people have ever had that fear. And that fear came from somebody disrespecting you, or taking away your, or challenging your integrity.
Or trying to hurt me.
Trying to hurt you, or take away, or disrespecting you, trying to take away your integrity. And you're like, because your integrity means so much to you, that you would kill somebody, either intentionally or
unintentionally. It's not so much my integrity.
Yeah.
It was my life. I didn't want anybody to kill me.
Right.
So if I have to kill you to not kill me,
yeah,
is the bottom line.
Got it. Any close calls besides the guy with the chair?
There were escalations, and most of the time I handled business because of my capabilities with my hands. And my skills, because I grew up that way, learning that. I lived in the gym every day learning that. I perfected it.
So going to the gym at 5 years old?
Yeah, from 5 years old, I mean, it just, you know, and then loving it. I mean, you know, it was, I mean, let's face it, boxing and all that was my first love. I mean,
yeah.
It really was. But that said, didn't matter how big you were or how small you were. My capabilities, I was able to handle that. What the problem was for me is now things happen quickly in prison, and not everybody's walking around with a weapon in prison. And most of the time, as I used to say to a lot of guys, sometimes just to forewarn them, listen, you left your weapons at the front door when you checked in. I said, but I didn't. My weapons are here.
Right.
My weapons are here. I still have my weapons. So be very careful. But the problem is that if they actually had a weapon and they come after me with a weapon, I would have to handle that in a different way instead of just, you know, punching them or hitting them. When someone's trying to kill you with a weapon, that's a whole different monster. That's a whole different...
What do you do?
You need to take that weapon away from them the best you can. And sometimes...
And are we talking about like a homemade knife?
A homemade knife, yeah.
Yeah.
And that said, sometimes, you know, you're in a situation where that you're going to have to use that knife on him.
Did you see that a lot?
Well, I remember when I was in Milan, Michigan, and I was on my way out to the yard, the big yard, to hit the heavy bag and do some running. And I see this, there was a doorway, and then as you go through the doorway, you took a right down a hallway to go out to the back where the yard was. I see this little Mexican guy. He's standing at the doorway, and he's standing there, and he's got his hand behind his back. And I'm walking along. I mean, I'm a visual guy, of course, watch everything. And all of a sudden, I'm like, why is this guy standing like that, you know? Another guy comes through the doorway. He was waiting for him. And when that guy came through the doorway, he took that shiv that he had and he just put it right into him, in the middle of him, immediately. And let me tell you something. I turned my back around and I didn't see anything. I didn't see a fucking thing. None of my business. Before you know it, the sirens were going off in the prison, and they were screaming. On the sirens, when that happens, they put it on the loudspeakers. Lockdown, 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 lockdown. And you need to get to your area where your cell is, or wherever your holdings are, if you will. And if you don't, you'll be taken up by the guards in the riot gear and everything else, and you'll be put into the lockdown cells and everything else, and in the hole. The hole. And I didn't need that shit. I'm just trying to do my fucking time. I didn't see shit, didn't know shit. I went to my fucking, up to where I was in my pod where I was staying. And because Milan, Michigan was built in 1933. Yeah, it was so hot. It was because it's built out of brick. So when that sun hit the brick, it was like a baking oven. I'm not kidding you. A brick baking oven. It was so hot in there, and there was no air conditioning. But in the middle, there was two sides. In the middle was the guard's office and the counsel's office, and each side there was a bars locked down. And on that side they had cubicles. It was like housing cattle, if you will. So I went back to my pod area, and I'm going to tell you, I was the only white guy in that area. I was. Just so the people know, I was the only white guy in that pod.
And what was that like?
I can get along with anybody, Ken. I respect men no matter what race or creed or color.
But you
or religion, and you know that.
Yeah. Yeah, you grew up in Southie with Whitey, who I assume was pretty racist.
100%.
And you're...
Southie had its racial problems. Yeah, sure. From the forced busing days and stuff that I grew up in. Absolutely. 100%.
And did that... so you were raised in kind of a racist environment, and then you're put in prison.
I wouldn't say racist. I just think that people in those times and in that society at that time, we're talking about a different time in society where everybody had their own culture, and it was a cultural thing. And, you had your white section, you had your black section, you had your Italian section, you had your Irish section. I think that, it was just a fairer change in people. Mm-hmm. And the cultures clashing is what I see it as.
Right.
And whether listen, bigotry and racism is here to stay, and as much as we like to knock it out or whatever, it's still here.
But prison racism is prevalent, right?
No, not as much. Not as much, believe it or not, because when you go into the system in prison,
Yeah.
you have your different cultures there too.
Right.
You learn to adapt, and if you're a solid guy,
Yeah.
people respect you, no matter what color you are or anything like that.
Right. So
but-
your prejudice was against rats.
100%, 100%, 100%, and that's it right there. You hit the nail on the head. My prejudice was against anybody who became an informant or a rat who couldn't handle the weight. And there were guys that they were trying to sneak through that got caught, and the paperwork come up saying, "This guy's a rat." They didn't last long. They didn't last long at all. I remember a guy, he was a military guy, and he got brought in for child molestation. And it was federal. And you're saying, how is a military, because it was done on a military base. So it became a federal case, federal prison. And I'm going to tell you this right now. I was told by the guards who he was and what he did and what his crimes were at the time. And they did that on purpose because they knew that I was a man of integrity, that I would never, ever associate with someone like that or tolerate. I have to say that particular individual, he didn't last the night. They took him out on a stretcher.
Why'd the guards pick you out of everybody in the prison?
I guess they knew that I had a little clout.
That's just such a...
I'll be honest with you, I was happy to see him go.
Yeah.
I don't like rapists, child molesters, rats. I don't like any of them. And you get a lot of liberal people who are like, well, they're people with problems, they're sick or this or that. And they need help too. Yeah. Well, there's a fine line when it comes to people needing help and people that need help a different way, in my eyes. I'll tell you that right now. I'll always live with that. I will never accept a child molester. I will never accept a rapist. And I'll never accept a rat.
I assume there's some other things like anybody that's robbing old ladies or, you know.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, the list will expand on what you won't tolerate.
That is correct.
There was another great story in the movie, or in our script, which will hopefully turn into a movie one day, where you got off the airplane. What's it called when you have to self-turn in? What's it called?
Self-surrender.
Self-surrender.
Yeah, you mean, was it the cab ride?
The cab ride.
The cab ride. Well, Steve Levinson, Mark Wahlberg's guy, right?
The manager of
He
Mark, yeah.
loved that. He loved that. He said, I can't believe that it's amazing. Amazing, he said.
Just tell me what
He
happened
goes,
again.
Can you tell Ari, Mark's man, right?
Ari
Emmanuel,
yeah.
He brings me in and tell Ari, and I was like, I ain't telling Ari. Come on.
This is the head of WME.
Yeah, the head guy, right?
Yeah.
Nice guy, Ari.
Yeah.
Very nice guy. And I'm
Levin's like, go in there and tell Ari
Levin's
the
like,
story.
We're going to tell him the story. This is the best story, Ari. And I'm like, I was like, no.
You didn't tell him the story?
No, I
well,
did
tell him the
not.
story now.
I did not. Because it was like a dog and pony show,
Yeah,
and
it's
I didn't
dog
like
and
that.
pony show.
I did not like that. So, yeah, this is the story. So I'm self-surrendering. I got to go into prison. As Tony said, you got to close the door. It's you to close the door, Johnny. Everybody's depending on you to close that door. You're the last person in, the main person.
And out of the 51 people that were indicted, how many ratted and how many didn't?
I can't tell you how many ratted, because some of these guys have made deals that they weren't able, that they didn't have to fulfill because people pled guilty to charges where they weren't ratting. And I was the last one. Remember that.
Right.
So if I went to trial out of all those people, that's when you would have known how many rats and how many people would have come out of the woodwork and see what their deals really were like. You would have seen that then. But they didn't have the chance to do that because I accepted full responsibility without cooperating.
Right.
Without cooperating. And by the way, I'm going to tell you something. I don't care what a rat ever says about me. I mean, a rat is always going to say something negative about me because of who I am and because I dislike them and because they couldn't walk the walk or handle the water or handle the water or whatever, however you want to phrase it. But I don't care what they say about me, because what they say about me, they could say anything negative about me. They can put lies out there. They could do whatever they want. Right. It's like water off a duck's feathers to me when it comes to rat rhetoric.
Yeah. And it's come back to me because of my association with you, where, oh, you think John's story's something, he's just the low-level guy in the mafia, John's the this,
whatever.
And then it's like,
okay,
whatever,
great.
rat.
Great. I love proving these people wrong, though.
Yeah.
That's for sure. And it's like taking candy from a baby for me. But that's besides the point. But my point is this. I had a guy who says, a rat, he says, how do you only get 12 years with all the bodies that Whitey Bulger killed? He had to have one of those bodies. He had to kill one of those people.
A rat said this?
Yeah. Recently.
Oh.
Recently. This is how stupid this dumb, stupid rat. Now I know now he even shows me more. It shows me more now that why he was a rat, because he's so stupid. Let me tell you something. All those bodies that Whitey Bulger did was done before my time. Before me. Every one of them. So where's the conspiracy, nitwit? There isn't.
Yeah.
That's how stupid this. So my point is this. Rats love to project and deflect. Project and deflect. That's their whole game. Because they can't live with themselves. So the first thing, I think he's an informant because he didn't get indicted for a body that Whitey killed. What are you, a moron? Those bodies were before I was even there.
Maybe you were probably when you were 14 or 13
Exactly,
years old.
exactly. That's how stupid this moron was.
Yeah.
And by the way, this moron just got arrested for beating up his girlfriend for like the 4th time.
Yeah, and he can't read a
wait
calendar.
a minute. They let him out of prison. They let him out of jail. They let him out of jail. They got him out of jail 4 times of beating his girlfriend up. That's what the feds did for him. They're protecting scumbags is what they're doing.
Crazy.
Yeah, how crazy. That society that the government says, hey, just rat and you can do whatever you want after that? Think about that. Look at Whitey Bulger and Stevie Fleming for 40 years. Killing people. They let them kill people on their watch.
So when we talk about ratting, this is fascinating because It's cooperate. The government is putting different values on this because you could murder one person and go to prison for forever, or even get the death penalty.
That is correct.
This guy, 20-something, and he's walking because he ratted. That's fucked up. Do you agree?
You don't have to ask me that question. You know what my question's going to be, but I guess he felt that he wasn't ratting according to him in his statement, that he wasn't ratting because how do you rat against rats? Because he said Stevie and Whitey are rats.
And we know the John Shea answer to that.
These guys, people always of this nature that had cooperated are always going to find an excuse, no matter what in life. And that's just the way it's going to be.
But I think that's a problem with our justice system where you can commit murder. This is a mass murderer. This is a serial killer who's out on the street right now because he cooperated for murder. I can understand maybe the government using rats for smaller crimes to RICO, whatever, to put people away. But I don't understand being able to rat yourself out of a murder charge. That's a messed up system in my mind.
Welcome to the government. It's funny because I have a good friend, and his name is Father Patrick Maloney.
Right.
And he got indicted, and he went to prison.
What did he do?
He was involved with the IRA heist.
Oh, yeah.
And what a great guy. He was never disbarred or excommunicated from the Catholic diocese. Mm-hmm. He always stayed a priest because they gave him the benefit of the doubt. This diocese did. And years later, they said, they found $100,000 in his safe. And this guy had done wonders for kids and families over the years. They call him the saint of the Lower East Side. Well, when he came into prison, who was one of the first guys that he met? Me.
John Shea.
I knew who he was.
How?
Through the news and stuff like that.
Okay.
I kept a good eye on that. And he started to explain himself to me. And it's funny, it's how ironic that they sent him and had him in the same area and living quarters as me. And I said to him, Father, I know who you are, and you're going to be fine here in prison. I'm going to make sure of that. But I remember him saying to me after all these years, just recently, when they found that money in his safe that helped kids of poverty and families of poverty, they traced those bills back, serial numbers back, because they said it was part of the heist. They traced those serial numbers back way before the heist ever happened. The FBI lied. And he says it. He says, it's not the FBI, it's FBI lie. So there you go.
So he was innocent.
And he claims his innocence till today.
Wow.
This is a whole nother show.
Whole nother podcast.
Oh, no, it's coming. And he's never told his story before either. But I wanted to make the sense about lying and by the government and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It happens, and it happens every single day.
Probably.
And they'll give anything as long as they can catapult themselves.
Yeah.
They'll give anything for that.
It was interesting, like knowing you, and certain things come up in my life where I tap into my inner Red Shea to give answers to people. And there were some, this has happened a couple times where government information was leaked. You know, there was a movie, I forgot the name of I think it was a Steven Spielberg movie where the Vietnam papers got loose, and the New York Times or somebody published them. And then there's these other cases where that one guy took a picture on a submarine, and the newspaper publishes these things that are government secrets.
Well, we just had a kid from Massachusetts. His name is Texeria.
Uh-huh.
And he gave information, and he leaked it to a chat room.
Right.
And he's doing time. He just did an interview on, I believe, ABC.
Right.
And that said, he said he didn't do any wrong. He was just trying to show what the government was doing. But I'm gonna tell you how I feel about this.
But do you know where I was going? Let's see if we were going to the same place.
I feel as though when you're giving out secrets from military standpoint, it's a national security for the government and the protection of the country.
Right.
And that's how I see that. So you could say the government might be doing a little dirty, the military or this and that, but you know what? If it's national security, holy cow.
So it was the Pentagon papers that were leaked, and then it was based on a true story. They made a movie about it, about the Vietnam.
Yeah.
But you say something that's very interesting, though, because it's the newspaper's job to print the news. It's the government's job to keep things secret. The government needs better people if they're leaking. You know, Snowden was a contractor who, you know.
Yeah, he'd give information to Russia. I mean, come on.
I know.
He's,
That's where your patriotism takes over.
Well, exactly. I mean, but, you know.
Even though this government wasn't nice to you, you're still a patriot.
No, exactly. I'm not going to say I love my government, but I definitely love my country.
Right. The government has to be improved.
Yeah, 100%, 1,000%.
Yeah.
But, you know, I just want to say what a great discussion we've had. And, you know, is there any advice before we finish up? Is there any advice that you could give to the audience and that you've learned through me, that you've expressed? Is there any advice that you could give from yourself and the learnings that you've done through your own life and myself with me, you know, that you can express?
Well, I think it's important for people to have friends like you. A friend who always has your back, you know, and to be able to judge a character. Now, you know, I first met John, and he's this guy who got out of prison, and he was in the mafia and all this stuff, and you're like, and I've also worked with law enforcement, with FBI people, who I wouldn't trust with anything. John, if I had whatever, something valuable, say a Rolex or something I needed safekeeping, say I was going across the country, I would trust John with that. If my niece might be going to school in Boston, I'm like, this guy's going to take care of you, and anything you need, John will be there no matter what. If you need to talk to him, if you need him to protect you, if you need him just to go with you someplace because you don't feel comfortable, John will always be there. You know, they always talk about, and something happens in the middle of the night and you need to call somebody to come and help you. John's my guy. But it's very important not to necessarily judge somebody by their past and judge them by who they are. Because I feel like a lot of people might dismiss you because of your mob connections, your your criminal past.
I've had it happen multiple times.
You know, but there's not a better friend that you can have. There's not a more loyal guy. There's not a more honest guy. There's more than a guy who will also give you a clarity. You know, you got to look for people in your life who Ken, it's not that easy. It's not that hard, Ken. You're overthinking it. Ken, we got to bust some balls here. You got to come and get me. How's my Southie accent? But yeah, I feel like knowing you has definitely as a really good friend. And we've been through so many ups and downs with the movie.
We have.
I mean,
we've gone through a lot of
crazy stuff.
Adversities.
I mean, getting the book published was such a high point. Getting you on a lecture circuit, on your book tour, and seeing you come from prison, and then all of a sudden you're speaking at universities, and you're getting on TV, and you're getting all these opportunities and sharing your story, and then getting the rub ripped out from under us when we think we're going to make a movie, and then all of a sudden our financier ends up in prison or whatever. It's just crazy
amazing
stuff.
It's amazing what we've gone through as friends, but the opportunity and stuff like that, and all the learning and stuff like that has been. You can't buy it. There's no price tag to put on that, and I just want to thank you for that. And
Thank you.
Thank you for giving me an opportunity, and I want to thank the audience today for watching this program, the program Integrity with Red Shea. And Ken Koken, please watch the movie Usual Suspects, Academy Award winner. Watch it again if you haven't ever seen it. For you young folk out there, watch it. Excellent movie. Kaiser Soze. Soze, sorry. And The Way to Gun with Ryan Phillippe. Ken, you are tremendous.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for coming on today, Ken.
Absolutely.